Welcome, Dr. Alok. Welcome, all of you. It's nice to see so many familiar faces gathered, and some new ones too, for this 10th memorial lecture, remembering our beloved teacher, Dr. Mangesh Nadkarni. And we're very happy that again Dr. Alok has agreed to speak on one of his favorite topics, the mother in Savitri. We can spend a moment and remember Mrs. Nadkarni, who wished very much to be with us today. She made all arrangements that she could be here. But finally, at the last moment, her doctors strongly advised her not to travel at all. But I'm sure she's with us here in spirit, and we can remember her and send our loving thoughts and best wishes to her. We can have a few moments meditation.
Sri Aurobindo's main work, at least one of the most important work, has been to awaken and install the divine Shakti in the heart of humanity, in the heart of earth. Not that the Shakti was not there earlier, she's always been there. Nothing in this creation can stir without the Shakti. But she has been in the background. And what we see with Sri Aurobindo is that he brings the Shakti into the forefront of the human quest. And this is something of unparalleled significance. During the India's freedom movement, we see that Sri Aurobindo installs the Shakti in the heart of the Indian people, awakening them to the strength that is innate within. We know how the song Bande Matram was used so effectively and powerfully. Then subsequently, when the Shakti was awakened, and he knew that once the Shakti is awakened, the result is inevitable. Nothing can stop. Because with her is the victorious force of the Supreme. Then he moved on to the larger sphere of humanity, starting with a small nucleus, where once again he established and installed the Divine Mother as the Shakti right into the forefront. And he stepped behind, which is where always we see in creation the Ishvara is, he stands behind and the Shakti is in the forefront. And then when he withdrew, it's a very awkward word because where will Sri Aurobindo withdraw? But human language is very inadequate when we talk about deeper truths, and when it comes to Mother and Sri Aurobindo is completely inadequate. But still, for the sake of the limits of our sight, when he withdrew from the limits of our sight, he once again installed the Shakti in the heart of humanity through the mantric power of Savitri. See, again we see the same gift is 50 to 51, that's the birth year of Savitri. It's the gift that he has given to mankind. And through all this, finally he installed and established the supramental Mahashakti for the creation to march further. So Savitri's scene thus is essentially the story of the Divine Mother. If we really look at Savitri from beginning to end, and when spontaneously it came to us and Shraddhavan agreed that yes, we should speak about the Divine Mother in Savitri because this is the 100 years of the Mother's final coming to India, Pondicherry. I didn't imagine that it's a very vast subject. The whole of Savitri is the story of the Divine Mother. And I didn't want to pick up some passages randomly and just read out. So she is the inspirer, the guide, the leader. So what I felt is let's run through Savitri as a story of the Divine Mother and how it develops as the story of the Divine Mother. Savitri seen from that, which indeed it is. So we see right in the opening scene of Savitri, Book 1, Canto 1, Sri Aurobindo gives a hint what is coming, what is going to come. And the hint is in the form of symbol of dawn, just like morning, dawn brings the light and energy of the sun to the earth. It's the same truth which is inside the sun, the same light, force, splendor, which reaches out to earth. This is the big difference. When it comes to the Vedantic ways of turning to the Purusha, we have to travel. But the Divine Mother comes down. It's the very symbol. She comes right into the very soil of earth nature. Those marvelous lines we read in Canto 1. Even our prostrate soil bore the awakening ray. And then the great assurance, all can be done if the God touch is there. So her coming and touching earth is itself the beginning of a marvelous change. And what does she bring as gift when the Divine Mother comes to earth? When mothers go to their child's home, they bring number of gifts. So here we have those gifts. The proud and conscious wideness. She brings wideness. She brings bliss. The key to the flaming doors of ecstasy. All this she comes to give us. It's a different story what we ask from her. But she comes to give us the key to the flaming doors of ecstasy. And she brings on the one side these gifts. Second, she wants to ensure that our life, our future, the future of earth and humanity is secure. So how does she make it secure? We have in the opening canto itself that she has come to wrestle with doom. She has come to, once again, the sacrifice that man offers constantly. We don't know, our whole life, if we look at it from one angle, is an unconscious sacrifice. Unfortunately, it is a sacrifice to the neither gods. But yet, as the Gita says, ultimately it reaches the supreme and something comes down, trickling down. But this sacrifice, she starts for the sake of humanity. She starts the process of giving, assuming a human form, a human face, a human body. And this itself is the great sacrifice of the Divine Mother, the holocaust of the Supreme in creation. So this is how Savitri opens. But who is Savitri? We have a wonderful, description of Savitri's being. And from there we can start. It's one of the most exquisite passages. But leaving aside its poetic beauty and its, which is of course endless. For me, many of these things in Savitri personally are a personal example and inspiration, what we should be. Sri Aurobindo spends quite a number of pages in Essays on the Gita on this one or half a phrase of Shri Krishna when he says that God's own example. He tells Arjuna that, look, even if I don't do anything, there is nothing which is going to happen to me, but still I come to set an example. If I don't work, the worlds would perish. So she comes to give us a living example of what we should be. So when the divine comes, he, by his own life, shows us what we should become. And of course also gives us the simplest way of becoming. And that way, of course, she will reveal subsequently. Savitri itself will reveal to us. The shortest, the surest, the swiftest way is through love. After all, don't we become in the image of that whom we love? So Savitri comes as the embodiment of love. She has come to fight doom, but this time she has come armed with a weapon as never before. And it's the weapon of love which has a transforming power in it. So this is page 15. And I'm just reading from somewhere down the middle, few lines. Her look, her smile evokes celestial sense. Even in earth stuff and their intense delight, poured a supernal beauty on men's lives. Even her smile, her silence, her speech, her look, they are all in action. Her presence is in action. And then comes these very inspiring lines. A wide self-giving was her native act. Divine comes to teach us what is it to be like a God. We are busy wanting. Even when we go to the divine, we want. The problem of want is that even if the abyss is filled, there will still be want. Because want comes from the abyss, from the inconscient. It is the original want. The want comes when there is separation. And the divine pours his heart of love into this. So she has come to give and give at all levels. That's the beauty. She repeatedly says, you can ask anything from me. And it doesn't depend on whether we collaborate or not collaborate. She says, when she was asked, what do you expect from us? She said, nothing. What can we expect from you? Everything. Everything is everything. And then, human mind is like, always twisted. And so maybe she has said everything, she doesn't mean it. Because we human beings say something and mean something else. So like a googly, the disciple again asked, is humanity fulfilling your expectations? Now you see, this is the same question but turned upon the top on its head. She says, since I expect nothing, I cannot answer this question. So we see here, a wide self-giving was a native act. A magnanimity as of sea or sky enveloped with its greatness all that came and gave a sense as of a greatened world. None is outcast for her. None is too low as not to be accepted by her. None is too great who cannot be enveloped by her vastness, and a greater greatness can open its doors. Everyone, whoever came to her, from the child in the kindergarten, nursery school, to the saint, the sages, the seers, to the prime ministers and the presidents, to the commoner, everybody could walk to her. And what she was doing? Opening the doors to greatness. This is the difference between the divine action and the action of an exalted humanity. Exalted humanity, when you go to them, they make you feel you are inferior. I'll give you something. The other day somebody was saying, how about forgiveness? I say, it's not a very good term. Mother speaks about it. It's like I am somebody superior and I forgive you, you lowly creature. What was the mother's action? She exalted, greatened, heightened. That's why she says, true surrender enlarges you, it aggrandizes. People are afraid of it. Of course, it will take away all that is dark, all that is ego-based, all that it will remove. But what it will give in return, and all the beauty, all the goodness, all the qualities which are still in the making, they will blossom and reach its perfect fruition. And gave a sense of as of a greatened world. Her kindly care was a sweet, temperate sun, because the divine has come as mother. The other day I was telling those with the Indian background, and of course, divine has come everywhere. And if you are a follower of Rama, you have to, be a warrior, be willing to go to the jungle and fight the battle. If you are a follower of Krishna, be ready to abandon everything like the gopis and come there, or to fight under the Chakradhari's great flag. If you are a follower of Christ, another avatar, you have to be ready to sacrifice and forgive from the cross. But if you are a child of the mother, what does she do? Kindly care. Receive her care, receive her love. That's why repeatedly Sri Aurobindo speaks of openness and receptivity. If you look at the letters towards the later part, he keeps emphasizing on openness and receptivity to the mother. And what is strange is when people say this yoga is so difficult. So either one has not walked the path, I'm sorry to say, or one has not read all that Sri Aurobindo has said. So this yoga is, Sri Aurobindo says in synthesis, seen from the point of view of the goal, the most difficult of all, but seen from the point of view of the method, the easiest of all. Because surrender is beginning and surrender is the end. Her kindly care was a sweet, temperate sun. Her high passion a blue heaven's equipoise. What do we experience when we go to her? All of us, I'm sure. As might a soul fly like a hunted bird, escaping with tired wings from a world of storms, and a quiet reach like a remembered breast. In a haven of safety and splendid soft repose, one could drink life back in streams of honey fire, recover the lost habit of happiness. So people ask, what miracle have you experienced after coming in contact with the mother? Just before I started, somebody was narrating me some story and said, I wish the mother did some miracle like XYZ Guru, that somebody did something wrong and his hand was paralyzed. I said, God, Lord. So what miracle mother does? We recover the lost habit of happiness. Is it a small thing? You see, as we grow through adulthood, this is something we lose. We don't even realize we have lost it. And to once again recover it, we try all artificial means. From money to relationships to cars and objects and extreme cases, drugs and alcohol, just to recover that which we have lost, which we were born with. It was a free gift. And we lose it. That's a different story. So what does she give? First thing, when you go to a big conference, they give you a bag full of things. First thing you get is recover the lost habit of happiness. Couple of lines below. Who she is, a deep of compassion, a hushed sanctuary. Her inward help unbarred a gate in heaven. Love in her was wider than the universe. The whole world could take refuge in her single heart. So, she's not just the mother of Sri Aurobindo Ashram. She's not just the mother of Auroville. She's not just the mother of this or that center. The whole world she would want becomes the garden house of the Lord. This is something she wrote also when Rabindraji once asked her that, look, he had left everything and come, but some of the family members, much later, they wanted to come. This 71. By then, the ashram was already choke full of devotees, if I may say so. So he asked that now they want to come, what do I do? She said, if it was up to me, I would want the whole world to be here in the ashram. But my means are limited. Material means are limited. But look at her heart, that she would want the whole creation, the whole world to take refuge. And that's how I look at it. Even the birds, the squirrels, and every creature that is there is under her shelter. Here, there, everywhere. Now, this is the opening first two cantos of Savitri, and then, of course, comes the story starts, as we know, in a flashback. The whole Savitri is about 18 hours, primarily. So, how did she come down? Who called her down? She is here upon earth, but what was it? And so we have Ashupati introduced to us, who embodies within him the anguish and the aspiration of earth. So he is God's delegate in humanity, a representative of the divine, who must embody what we experience and carry it right up to the Divine Mother. So we see that Ashupati engages in a yoga, and as he engages in the yoga, at one point after he had what is so much, celebrated as self-realization and the Brahman, he wants that state to be embodied in the very body. The ideal which he has glimpsed must be now his home. Even the body must experience it. This is a completely new aspiration for earth. Otherwise, we have to withdraw in great samadhi, trance, and have some glimpse. But he wants that state to be right in the very body cells. And in response to his aspiration, he experienced something which has never happened before. A violent ecstasy, a sweetness dire. In a moment, greater than death, shorter than time, by a power more ruthless than love. So he suddenly experiences the descent of, this line reminds me of Kali and Krishna in Sri Aurobindo's own yoga. There was a stage when constantly they were working in his consciousness. A violent ecstasy, a sweetness dire. Violent ecstasy is certainly Kali aspect of the Divine Mother, who slays the ego and liberates the soul into ecstasy. And sweetness dire, he is the Gopala with the flute, but don't be misled, the chakra is going to come behind. He is not just standing on the Yamuna, but also he stands on the battlefield of Kurukshetra as the leader of the march of mankind. So he is the sweetness dire. So when he experiences it, this is the transformation that starts, because in his own body this aspiration is awakened. And then comes the great renunciation. People speak about renunciation of Buddha, of Mahabhira, and of course each renunciation is something powerful in its own right. But Sri Aurobindo, as the mother writes on the Samadhi, he renounced, or after his physical withdrawal, he renounced the realization in his own body so that it can take place for the whole earth. So at that point of time, we see a departure taking place, first departure in Sri Aurobindo's yoga, when he experiences the descent, which has not been there in old yogas. If somebody experienced a little bit, it's incidental. As Sri Aurobindo remarked when Dilip Kumar Roy asked him that has there never been any descent in previous yogas, he said, if at all, it has been incidental, some illumination in the mind. But that's not what he calls as transformation. But now he says, he has grown too wide. A single freedom cannot satisfy a heart that has grown one with every heart. So he says, no, this must happen for all. And he renounces the realization in his own body for the hastening of the collective realization. And then starts a long, long journey undertaken through arduous tapasya in book 2, where he is running upstream as it were, catching the rays of the sun and climbing up to find where is the source, where is this power coming down, this transformative alchemist energy. And he meets, there are spaces, levels where he has some glimpse of that power. And one of the places where he first glimpses, there are several places, but one of the places where we can pause a little is in the kingdoms of the greater mind. So that's where he sees that the Divine Mother, her energies, her power has come into the cabin of the idea. Man is tying her down by conception's noose, believing that this is it. In Tantrics sometimes tried this to draw the Divine Mother through the power of the mantra, yantra and puja. This is the upasana of the tantric method. Through these means, they call the Divine Mother and try to, fix it in a space or something. But what really it is, Sri Aurobindo reveals to us on page 275. She accepts to come, but we should not be mistaken that it has nothing to do with our greatness, our tapasya. It is simply the grace. She can accept to come to, anyone who calls with a sincere heart. On page 275, a few lines from below. Into thought's narrow limits she has come. Even if we were to write books after books, there have been so many wonderful hymns and books. If you see Tantra Sar, there are books on Tantra, on worship of the Divine Mother, the Puranas, and of course she's there even in the Vedas, the Upanishads. She's hinted in the Gita and many countless devotees. Still, this is still only a limited understanding, limited glimpse. She made earth her home for whom heaven was too small. In a human breast her occult presence lived. Into thought's narrow limits she has come. Her greatness she has suffered to be pressed into the little cabin of the idea. So when people speak about, I've heard some very interesting things. I don't mind sharing. When there was conception of the Divine Mother. So there was a seminar on conception of the Divine Mother. So I said, I don't understand the subject. Divine Mother is not a conception. She is a living reality and a living truth for one who undertakes the journey. It's not a conception. We should not reduce her to a conception of Divine Mother in this age, in that. That's the way academics work. But nevertheless, she says, okay, I'll come in the cabin of the little idea. But on the next page, Sri Aurobindo reminds us, but thought nor word can seize eternal truth. The whole world lives in a lonely ray of her sun. Instead of wanting her to be limited by the idea, we should give ourselves to her. In our thinking's close and narrow lamplit house, the vanity of our shut mortal mind dreams that the chains of thought have made her ours, but only we play with our own brilliant bonds. Tying her down, it is ourselves we tie. So many times she reminds. When people quote her, mother says so, mother likes this, mother does not like this. She says, what do you know? She may act in one way in a given circumstance and in a different thing completely differently. Even with the same person, same situation, she has changed a viewpoint and the disciple couldn't understand. So he asked the mother, Mother, you have changed your opinion. She said, no, I don't act according to opinions. In fact, she says, thankfully I have no opinions. As things change, action changes. And Amalda gives a beautiful example that how when once he approached the mother, it's in context of Savitri, that I want to, maybe a few corrections, so-called corrections in Savitri, so that people don't misunderstand Sri Aurobindo, etc., etc. So mother looked at him and said, not a comma is to be changed, like a Mahakali. Not a comma is to be changed. And he went back. Then he looked within and saw, was there some bit of arrogance on my part? Was there something within me feeling proud that I am going to help in the work or something like that? So after some time, he went again to the mother with the same issue when the final, printing had to come, and he explained to mother, this is how it is that. She said, yes, completely different. He notes it. He says that, when he went with a very different state, then it was Karunamai that yes, whatever some changes which were, they are not changes actually. It's because, anyways, I don't want to get into that. So many scripts and transcripts and, it's a whole complex issue. But the point was that depending on the change within the disciple, she could change the very next moment. It is not a change of opinion, but our state of consciousness, if that changes, everything changes. So this is what she comes to teach us and show us. But still, we say, mother said so much so that once somebody quoted Sri Aurobindo to the mother. He said, Mother, Sri Aurobindo has said, truth and falsehood cannot live together. Why are you keeping them together? So mother laughed. He said, everybody believes they are in truth and others are in falsehood. How do I tell them that everybody has their own little falsehood clinging? And then she says, not only Sri Aurobindo, they quote me also and tell me, they reminded me, Mother, you have written cling to truth. He said, what can I do? Yes, I wrote it, but that's not what I meant. So then the disciple asked, what is truth? And that gives us a hint again. She said, truth cannot be defined. But if you want to live it, it will reveal itself to you. And then she says, the only word that comes closest to it is the word dharma. It is not something fixed. It's not a rigid edict firmly engraved in rock. Thou shalt do this and thou shalt not do this. Truth is not like that. It evolves, it changes. Like for a child, there is one way of being and becoming, and for an adult, another, for a old man, another, for a wise man, another, for a stupid man, another. For everybody, it's something that grows and opens and unfolds and evolves and helps us on the journey. So we should be very careful not to reduce our words into a rigid dogma. So what we should do, and he says, thus is it even with the seer and the sage. We see not what small figure of her we hold, we share not her immortal liberty. Thus is it even with the seer and the sage, for still the human limits the divine. The divine is infinite, is not a fixed something. So what we should do? Here comes the hint. Out of our thoughts we must leap up to sight. Breathe her divine, illimitable air. Her simple, vast, supremacy confess, dare to surrender to her absolute. Then the unmanifest reflects his form in the still mind as in a living glass. The timeless ray descends into our hearts and we are wrapped into eternity. This surrender opens the doors to that immortal ecstasy. For truth is wider, greater than her forms. 1,000 icons they have made of her and find her in the idols they adore. But she remains herself and infinite. So this is the command to us. But the beauty or the strangeness of human nature, as someone has said that only two things are infinite, the universe and human stupidity. About the former one may doubt. So man says, dare to surrender to her absolute. Her simple vast supremacy confess. So you see the web of thought. Oh, this is another cult created around the mother. Out of her thoughts we must leap up to sight. So Ashupati goes beyond, and what that surrender is described very beautifully. By the thought we cannot know her, but there is another way through which we can go. So we see when he approaches, Ashupati approaches through the thought. He enters into the self of the mind. It's a vast impersonality. It doesn't allow him to go further. There is no, it's like if you want to go further, extinction. That's it. Soul escape. So he takes another route. He's seeking, and an answer comes and he's drawn into a tunnel. And at the end of that, there is light and what he sees. And that is something very marvelous. And it is described on page 295. Here again we have a living, first time we have a darshan of the Divine Mother. See, often people speak about darshan, and we are having darshan day recently, and Sri Aurobindo has made darshan so sahaj, sulabh, so easy, simple, natural. There are places in Savitri where there is actually a living darshan of the Divine Mother and of course of the Supreme Lord. This is one such place where we have the first glimpse of the Divine Mother as the World Mother, as the Universal Mother. And it's only by her grace that one can go beyond. No human effort or tapasya can take us. Even when it seems like that. See Raman Maharishi followed the way of Gyan Yoga, and he reached that point, and at one point when he was struggling, moving from here and to there, suddenly he met an old woman who tells him, "Why are you so restlessly moving from here to there? Why don't you stay at one place? Where should I stay? Stay here in Arunachal." So this, when it was asked to Sri Aurobindo, he says, yes, it was the Divine Mother who came to show him the way. See, in the life of Buddha, acknowledged or unacknowledged, Buddha is struggling, trying so much. One day, the Divine Mother comes as Sujata. Thankfully, in Gaya now they have a temple dedicated to Sujata. At least they have acknowledged her that she was a power of the Divine Mother. And she comes as an ordinary common folk and gives him something payasam. And he sees he's sitting so tense, right? What does she do? Just relaxes him. Don't tighten yourself so much the bowstring that it snaps. Don't keep it so lax that you can't use it. And he gets the hint. So everywhere throughout we see in the history of mankind, evolution history, that she has always been there, but in the background. Here we have the Divine Mother opening the gates of infinity for Ashupati to facilitate his quest. Page 295. Behind them in a morning dusk one stood, who brought them forth from the unknowable, Ishvara and Ishwari. Ever disguised, she awaits the seeking spirit, watcher on the supreme, unreachable peaks, guide of the traveler of the unseen paths. She guards the austere approach to the alone. Even the tapaswin, who claims that it's by his own effort, she still keeps a watch, guides, helps, gives an indication. Based on his faith or the absence of faith, she leads him through the journey, and he thinks it's my own effort of tapasya. But where does the power of tapasya come from? It comes from the Divine Mother. At the beginning of each far spread plane, she is the universal mother and she is there on each plane of consciousness, waiting for the seeker, pervading with her power the cosmic suns. She reigns, inspirer of its multiple works and thinker of the symbol of its scene. Above them all she stands, supporting all. The sole omnipotent goddess ever veiled, of whom the world is the inscrutable mask. Any which way, any aspect of the world, we take out, go deep, deep, deep within, we will meet the Divine Shakti standing there. The ages are the footfalls of her tread, their happenings the figure of her thoughts, and all creation is her endless act. Whatever she has conceived, that will be. There is no way it cannot be. It may take a war, it may take centuries, but that is going to be. It cannot be changed because she is the one who conceives and the rest follows. So what Ashupati does, he does what we see there in Greater Mind. His spirit was made a vessel of her force. Mute in the fathomless passion of his will, he outstretched to her his folded hands of prayer. Then in a sovereign answer to his heart, a gesture came as of worlds thrown away. The Divine Mother says, okay, what do you want? She throws away the worlds. You want all these worlds? You can take them. All these worlds, the triple worlds of body, life and mind, and you can become king over them. Sovereign, the great emperor. You want these worlds? You can take it. With one arm she is giving. Because Ashupati has done the tapasya and the surrender. By the other arm she does something else. And from a raiment lustrous mystery raised, one arm half parted the eternal veil. On the one side, what do you want? All the glory and greatness of the worlds. On the other side, do you want the eternal? A light appeared, still and imperishable, attracted to the large and luminous depths of the ravishing enigma of her eyes. He saw the mystic outline of her face. Look at the darshan. Overwhelmed by her implacable light and bliss, an atom of her illimitable self. Who is Ashupati? He is a tapaswin, great yogin. What does he experience himself as? An atom of her illimitable self, mastered by the honey and lightning of her power, tossed towards the shores of her ocean ecstasy, drunk with a deep, golden, spiritual wine, he cast from the rent stillness of his soul a cry of adoration and desire, and the surrender of his boundless mind, and the self-giving of his silent heart. He fell down at her feet, unconscious, prone. One cannot remain conscious in that blaze. And this is the universal mother. And the arm parts the eternal veil, and Ashupati goes further because he is in search of that which can transmute. The universal mother can give all that is there in creation within the cosmic consciousness. But if there has to be something more, one has to go to the transcendent. So Ashupati goes further because she knows his heart. He doesn't want this. He wants something else, something new, something which has never been on earth, which he wants to be. And he goes further and he is face to face with the transcendent mother, going past the gates of the unknowable. And of course, we all are aware of this wonderful passage, very long passage. I'll just read a few lines from here and there. As she comes out, as he stands on the gates of the unknowable, he has to make a choice. The choice is like many yogis of past, well, a few yogis. So, dissolve in the supreme consciousness, in the ineffable, and be done with birth and life and death and rebirth. Or to bring something of that and recreate this world and mind and life. Ashupati obviously has chosen the second one. But he doesn't know how it will come through. He stands at the doors of the unknowable. You can't know it. He has to reveal himself. But it's a she. So someone comes out of the unknowable. You see, this God being a woman, Sri Aurobindo describes that. That as long as I worshipped God as a woman, I knew something about him from far off. But when I became a woman, then I had the full mystery. So this is where he stands. Even while he stood on being's naked edge, trip over that side and gone. No Ashapati, no creation, nothing else. And all the passion and seeking of his soul faced their extinction in some featureless vast. The presence he yearned for suddenly took rose. This is the thin line over which Sri Ramakrishna must have stood when he said, whoever has a glimpse of that side, ha ha kore gire pade. He vanishes into that. He falls and vanishes. Or the great Upanishad declares, what can one speak about that mystery? Ha ha, he, hu. There's nothing you can say. Every word that you utter will be a blasphemy before that. And then he, glimpse of the transcendent mother. Out of a marvelous transcendence core, a body of wonder and translucency. As if a sweet, mystic summary of herself escaping into the original bliss had come enlarged out of eternity. Someone came, infinite and absolute. A being of wisdom, power and delight. Even as a mother draws her child to her arms, took to her breast nature and world and soul. Here is, he finds, yes, this is what I am seeking. She is the one whom I am seeking. And this beautiful passage goes on, closing with these lines. She is the golden bridge, the wonderful fire. Next page, I have turned the page 314. Okay, I'll read from here. At the head she stands of birth and toil and fate. In their slow round the cycles turn to her call. Alone her hands can change time's dragon base. Hers is the mystery the night conceals. The spirit's alchemist energy is hers. She is the one who can transmute matter and divinize it. The luminous heart of the unknown is she, a power of silence in the depths of God. She is the force, the inevitable word, the magnet of a difficult ascent. This word is the word, supreme word of creation. And when she was asked, but mother, in Indian mythology it is written that the word of creation came from Brahma. What do you have to say about it? So the mother says, yes, but hasn't Sri Aurobindo said that I am the mother of Brahma? It's there. Actually, it is there in the, if you read the Puranas, it's there. She is the mother of Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh. And there is not one. There are countless Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh. They also have a term, incidentally. No? Nobody enjoys termless power except the Absolute. So if any of us thinks that I am going to, enjoy power right till my last breath, it's it's only given to the Absolute because they know what power means. It's they, nothing else. So, but here she comes. The sun from which we kindle all our suns. Aditi, the light that leans from the unrealized vasts. The joy that beckons from the impossible. The might of all that never yet came down. We know of the mother as might, Durga, Kali and countless other forms. But there is still greater power which has never come down upon earth. And that he glimpses. All nature dumbly calls to her alone to heal with her feet the aching throb of life and break the seals on the dim soul of man and kindle her fire in the closed heart of things. So every time we have a pain, we shouldn't have a pain. Mother doesn't want us to have pain. But it's a beautiful opportunity to remember her, Ma, because she alone can heal. And I remember one incident of Jugalta. He had a corn on his leg, very painful for many days, and every time would walk with a limp. And so someone told him, "What is it? It's a corn. Okay, why don't you get operated?" He said, "No, don't say that. Why? You don't believe in doctors?" He said, "No, doctors are all very nice people." Then what is it? Every time I have pain, I say Ma inwardly. So it's so wonderful. It's making me remember her. Look at it. That's how. So Ashwapati is now face to face with the Divine Mother, and she appears and she knows his heart, and she first cautions him. My fire and sweetness are the cause of life, but too immense my danger and my charm. Awake not the immeasurable descent, truth born too soon might break the imperfect earth. He says, don't try. You are calling me down, but be careful. This is not just some godlike energy, it is the supreme energy, and what's going to happen to earth. So Ashwapati is, of course, he's the God's delegate in humanity. He's our representative. So he says, yes, I know, but if you come down and prepare earth. Now he is, like you have those, tapasvis, and then the divine appears, and he says, no, I can't grant you this. So most people ask a second boon, but Ashwapati is wisest of the wise. So he says, yes, I understand what you're saying, but mother, why don't you come down, assume a human body and prepare us? Is there a problem with that? So we have one of those wonderful lines on page 345. O truth, defended in thy secret sun, voice of a mighty musings in shut heavens, on things withdrawn within her luminous depths. O wisdom's splendor, mother of the universe, creatrix, the eternal's artist bride, linger not long with thy transmuting hand, pressed vainly on one golden bar of time, as if time dare not open its heart to God. O radiant fountain of the world's delight, world free and unattainable above, O bliss who ever dwellest deep hid within, while men seek the outside and never find. Mission to earth some living form of thee. And the mother agrees, Tathastu, so be it. But she says, I'll choose my moment. So when will you come, mother? When darkness deepens, strangling the earth's breast, in death's tremendous hour. Why? Let that fellow do my work a little bit, clear the ground. A seed shall be sown in death's tremendous hour, a branch of heaven transplant to human soil. Mortality shall overleap, man shall overleap her mortal step. Fate, nature shall overleap her mortal step. Fate shall be changed by an unchanging will. Let there be some preparation, the background. Wherever the mother went, you see, when she went to France after her return in 1915, she says wherever she went, revolution started, all kinds of things started, even earlier. In her previous incarnations, you see mother's name associated with revolutions. We should not imagine God as a pacifist who comes and says, please, Krishna comes and there is revolution. The mother goes, Russian Revolution, this revolution, everywhere, French Revolution, all these moments. So when she went to France, there was all kinds of activities, attacks, everything was happening. So she had to move away from there because France was not ready to contain that Shakti. So she goes all the way to Japan, little quiet. And then when she comes to India, but before that, now death's tremendous hour, it knows its game is up. So in a last ditch attempt, the whole world is engulfed on the one side in the first great war, and on the other side in the influenza epidemic. More people, by the way, died of that. For those who are worried and afraid of the coronavirus, well, most people died of influenza in the First World War than by the war itself. And yet humanity advances, because before she came, and Sri Aurobindo said, because she was coming, all the vital forces stooped down to earth to make sure, but they end up doing her work. They cleared the ground, created everything afresh. Otherwise, man would have said, we are very fine, we don't need, you need a Kansa, unfortunately, for Krishna to come. So she grants, and then we have those, the Divine Mother is on earth. And Sri Aurobindo describes very beautifully the whole long passage. One had returned from the transcendent plains, page 353, and bore anew the load of mortal breath, who had striven of old with her darkness and her pain. She took again her divine unfinished task. This is not the first time she has come. This is not the first time that all of us have come. That's what she says. When somebody asks the mother, Mother, have we all met in previous lives? She says, yes. But you don't remember, I remember. We have shared the effort and the struggle. We shall share the victory. But victory, whenever, right now, let's come together. There is a joy of the effort. So she allows us to take the joy of the effort. Some people get so worried, how many centuries it will take for the supramental body. Well, if you keep waiting, thinking like this, for you it will stay here. Let it take centuries. It means centuries of her seva, centuries of her service. How beautiful this is. The joy of service, the ananda of service through which we are prepared. So she comes with all that. And then we have on the next page, 357, the divine advent with herself. She is divine from the birth, as Sri Aurobindo puts it, but it's a progressive manifestation of the divinity. As the instruments develop, this divine consciousness which she has brought with her, and along with that, something new which is not there within the cosmic consciousness. That is the beauty, that she brings that. So when in Ramayana there is a description of the marriage of Rama and Sita. So when the marriage is going to take place, all the gods have come to, they know that it's not just an ordinary marriage. So they suddenly see, Brahma says, look at that flower. So Vishnu says, what about it? He says, I have not created this. Where does it come from? So the gods nudge him. Please, don't you know it is the Divine Mother's wedding? There will be things which you have never dreamed. They will also be here. So she has brought something new. A new epiphany appeared in her. And what is that new? As from the soil sprang glory of branch and flower, as from the animal's life rose thinking man, a new epiphany appeared in her, a mind of light. This is something she brought with her. Now, what is this mind of light? Sri Aurobindo speaks about it much later at great length. The first thing that the supermind will do, a mind of light is no more in ignorance. It's not yet reached the supramental, but it is a mind which is already, now the luminous mind, it will take us towards that. The fundamental ignorance is gone. So it's a mind of light. The first thing that will manifest, which will become the link for man's ascension. A mind of light, a life of rhythmic force. So she comes and attunes us again. We have lost that rhythm appropriate to man as an evolutionary being. A body instinct with hidden divinity. We have lost the instinct of the animal, good. But we don't know, we are trying to do it with the mind, but ultimately we have to discover the intuition. That's how man's journey. It's a body instinct with divinity. And there are so many examples of mother's life, and she gives so many examples that when you pick up something, you should know with the hands how much, all this instinct with divinity. One example that I often remember when she's sitting in a car and suddenly a cobra slithers somehow and sits on her lap and with the hood. Now you see, body instinct with divinity means what? She looks into the cobra's eyes. God knows what conversed. He must have seen Shiva and she must have said, I am in Uma's form. You are not supposed to be around my neck. So after some time she said, okay, now enough. So he just put his head down and went away. He must have come for darshan, all creatures come. So the disciple told, Mother, this is too dangerous. You should have killed this fellow. So mother said, what? Killed? Don't you know I am the mother? Instinct with divinity, the body itself. It's not even some thought or something. The body knows spontaneously, and that she describes several times. Prepared an image of the coming God. So she comes, and then we have a beautiful description how she has come, and she's humanity of various types, shades comes to her. In France he had started the New Idea group, and subsequently in different places, and all kinds of humanity were coming. And then she also met a number of beings and people in other worlds and this world. But whom is she going to choose now as partners of this great game? Because the divine is not playing with marionettes. When Niruddha asked Sri Aurobindo that why is effort needed from our side? He said, because it's a real thing. Divine is not playing with marionettes. It's not a puppet show going on. If it's a puppet show, then there is no evolution. And then we won't even deserve. A puppet may be, we can paint it into looking like a king and queen. But they are not kings and queens. Within it's still the same material. So we have to go through that evolutionary process. So there is something which man has to do. And she is in search of, we have the canto quest, that she is in search of what kind of material she needs. Who is that person who will be picked up by her? Satyavan is not just one person. There is a little Satyavan in all of us who is ready for her. And we have a description of Satyavan where he says that if I found the self, I left the world, lost the world. When I found the world, I lost the self. But I want the two to be bridged. Satyavan is not a seeker after nirvana. He had the experience. He is a Veda knower of the unwritten book. He wants the great reconciliation. Creation and the creator, world and God, spirit and nature. Satyavan is he. And all the way she comes in quest looking for Satyavan. What a beautiful symbol this is. We don't, we talk about, going in search of God. But as he said that when the being is ready, Sri Aurobindo has said, and all mystics have said, when you are ready, the guru and the guide come to you. So we shouldn't worry about that part. We should worry about what we have to do. She comes to us. Where does she come? Does she go to some hermitages and looking for some sadhu sannyasi whom she can handpick for her work? No, she goes past all of them. They are too satisfied with their realizations. Some are uncompanioned, reaching the absolute, seers, sages, ascetics. She goes past them. She goes past the palaces of kings. All these people she goes past, and she knows there is someone waiting for her, and that person may be in a forest where there is not even something, even the Google map will not show that there is a place like that. And she hones in right there. That's how she comes. How the divine, each one of us, I am sure, has our own beautiful story of our journey, how the divine caught us. So people often ask, how are we initiated in the ashram? And old time sadhaks used to say, she catches our choti. And then she doesn't let us go. Like a carrot we are dangling. But she starts with the choti, and after some time, all our being is hers. So that is how we are initiated. Where does she initiate? We have to go to the ashram, she will give a mantra. No, doesn't worry. You may be initiated while taking a stroll on Connaught Place. You may be in the busy street and she will come and initiate. She doesn't, it's not that. When we are ready, she reaches. So we have in quest, she comes, but there is something we have to do, and that is the offering of our being to her. That's all that she wants, and we have that on page 401. When Satyavan sees her, what does he say? He say, although to heaven thy beauty seems allied, much rather would my thoughts rejoice to know that mortal sweetness smiles between thy lids. We want the divine to be like human. You see, there is a great difference between the divine becoming human as the avatar and coming close to us, and the divine who is out there somewhere as an absolute abstraction beyond thought. How do we concentrate on that? So she comes within the human range. That's why the avatar is an unparalleled phenomena. And thy heart can beat beneath a human gaze, and thy aureate bosom quiver with a look, and its tumult answer to an earthborn voice. Oh, mother, can you hear our voice? We have not read any of the hymns and prayers in all the Shastras. Can you just listen to my babble? If our time-vexed affections thou canst feel, we don't know what to ask from us. We are little issues and little problems. Can you feel all these little issues that vex us? Earth's ease of simple things can satisfy. What I can offer you is not riches and bungalows and palaces. I can't make like Ravana a Sone ka Lanka for you. But I can offer my heart. It's a small little place. If thy glance can dwell content on earthly soil and the celestial summary of delight, thy golden body dally with fatigue. Knowing me, I can tell you, mother, you have to work a lot with this fellow. Can you? Oppressing with its grace our terrain, while the frail, sweet passing taste of earthly food delays thee, and the torrents leaping wine descend. Let thy journey cease. Come down to us. Come, mother, come. And she comes. Whenever a devotee, a child calls her with a sincere heart, she is not, he will offer so much money, therefore, she will come. She gave that example of the perfect offering gift of Shiva to Shiva. He says that yes, your gift is not measured by how much. It is measured by the completeness of it. And she gives the example of a lady whom Shiva comes disguised as an ordinary mendicant and asks her for something. She's a poor lady. She says, I don't have anything, but I've eaten half my apple and half is kept here. I can give it to you if you want. And Shiva says, give me. And she says, this is the most perfect gift. And then she says the gift is even more beautiful because she didn't know he is Shiva. That makes it beautiful. By doing this, she universalizes and she comes, and then we know what happens. There is the divine marriage, the divine betrothal, the mystic marriage as is called, Krishna with all the gopis and Christ with all his countless, all the nuns are married to Christ, and we can say that all of us are married to Mother and Sri Aurobindo. In the deepest sense, it's called mystic marriage. So there is a mystic marriage that takes place between Savitri and Satyavan. But once it happens, now our life is no more our baby. Actually, it never was, but we lived in that great illusion. Now it is her baby. And what happens next? Satyavan doesn't know. He's leading his life just like all of us. It's okay. We have come here. Very good. Mother is there. But she is keeping a watch. There is a line, as one who leads a race fallen blind. They don't even know. They don't even listen. When blind person you are leading and you say, be careful, he doesn't know what you should be careful about. And so it's so difficult to lead. So she leads us through the blindness of our ignorance. And then destiny approaches with silent feet and Satyavan dies. And before that, or rather I'll read this passage in the end. So Satyavan dies. Now you see what happens. It's something, again, very beautiful. Satyavan is making no effort. But what does he do before dying? That is important. Just before he is going to die, he lies in Savitri's lap and says, Savitri, Savitri, oh my Savitri, just come near me. Just hold me, kiss me for a while. That's all I want. Maybe if you are near, even death will go away. See, Satyavan's first act is the act of surrender, and Satyavan's last act is the act of surrender. And all the yoga is basically between these two acts, great acts. And Sri Aurobindo says that surrender to the divine and infinite mother is the first and the last word of integral yoga. So he makes that last act, and then it's no more his journey through death, but her journey. And she carries Satyavan, she follows him through the gates of death, and we know that there is a long debate and all that happens, and death gets transformed. Basically, she doesn't have to engage in debate. She could have just said, there I am. But it's not just about one Satyavan. One Satyavan could easily be brought back. It's about the destiny of mankind. Countless Satyavan, many Chinna Satyavans. And this great shadow which is lurking in man's depths, that must be transformed. So through all the debate, she is transforming death from the restrainer, the Yamaraja, to Dharmaraja, the upholder of the law, the guardian of truth. That's what his origin is, because Yama is the child of sun. He is the son of S-O-N of S-U-N. And sun and Chaya, Surya and Chaya, Yama is born. So Surya gives the law of truth and he is the restrainer. He doesn't know. So all that he does is restrains. So ultimately restrains the breath, restrains the life, restrains the body, Yama. Still one day we are restrained in our upward climbing. So he oversteps his brief. There is something he's not supposed to restrain, he even restrains that. He doesn't know. He has got only one word in his head. So she reveals to him and says, now move away. Because at the end he says, okay, I am convinced. But who are you? Hiding behind a human form. The eternal truth speaks through thy voice, but I want to see your face and see your power so that I too can bow and worship you. It is about the conversion of death, which is one of the most important things. Sri Aurobindo and the mother is not confined to us humans. We are very important as partners because the work is to be done in us. But there are many actors behind the scene. The gods must consent and the titans must surrender or dissolve or be converted. So we have this revelation of the Divine Mother on page 664. And Savitri looked on death and answered not. Almost it seemed as if in his symbol shape the world's darkness had consented to heaven light, and God needed no more the inconscient screen. A mighty transformation came on her, a halo of the indwelling deity, the immortal luster that had lit her face and tinted its radiance in a body's house, overflowing, made the air a luminous sea. Suddenly she shows him in her Sarupa, and then what happens next we know. The inevitable on page 667. A pressure of intolerable force. This is what many people experience in close contact with the mother. Even then, some of the old disciples would say when in front of Sri Aurobindo, they would feel as if they are entering into infinity, into vastness. But when mother came, there was tremendous pressure of transformation. Not that she said anything, which people mistranslated into, oh, she's a disciplinary, none of those things. But her presence was because she brought that transforming energy. And the only way one could bear it was through love, because that's the power of love. Any other thing that we tried, and there was the pressure. And that pressure was felt as intolerable. So, you see, there is a divine intolerance, a pressure of intolerable force. Death is bearing, weighed on his unbowed head and stubborn breast. Light like a burning tongue licked up his thoughts. Light was a luminous torture in his heart. Light coursed a splendid agony through his nerves. His darkness muttered, perishing in her blaze. So we have to bear all this change at one place, because within us also, along with the immortal wine, there is mixed this little poison of falsehood. So when she starts the cleansing process, it hurts. It's okay. It's the process. She says endurance and faith. These are the two watchwords. And then we know that death perishes, and then she has reached the ultimate and wants to bring down the boon for earth. And the boon that she brings, we have on page 696 and 697. We said that she brought these gifts to earth and man, but man is not ready. She makes men ready. To become ready, we have to go through the gates of death, unfortunately. That's how we are. And then she brings these boons. So what is it that the Divine Mother has come to give us? If we value it, thy peace, O Lord, a boon within to keep. Oh, the peace of flight from the world? No, not that peace. Thy peace, O Lord, a boon within to keep, amid the roar and ruin of wild time. For the magnificent soul of man on earth, thy calm, O Lord, that bears thy hands of joy. Without peace, we cannot bear the Ananda. amid the roar and ruin of wild time. In peace in the storm, calm in the effort, that peace he wants to bring. Thy oneness, Lord, in many approaching hearts, my sweet infinity of thy numberless souls. Not the oneness that blurs out and all difference, but oneness that is enriched by differences. That oneness. Thy energy, Lord, to seize on woman and man, to take all things and creatures in their grief and gather them into a mother's arms. Perfect solution for all grief, suffering, to fling oneself in her arms and feel the touch of her divine love. And finally she asks, thy embrace which rends the living knot of pain, thy joy, O Lord, in which all creatures breathe, thy magic flowing waters of deep love, thy sweetness give to me for earth and men. And all these boons are granted, and then, there is a passage on page 703 where, what Savitri is, who she is beautifully revealed. O Savitri, thou art my spirit's power, the revealing voice of my immortal word, the face of truth upon the roads of time, pointing to the souls of men, the roots to God. This is, of course, her own being. This applies as much to Savitri, the book, the immortal word that opens and points the road to mankind. And at the end, when Satyavan is back to earth and she has got all the boons, and Satyavan gives the first secret. The first act is surrender, the last act is surrender. When he asked, what is the path you have followed? Satyavan, I see you, so luminous. Looks like you have seen the face of God. He also says, oh Savitri, looks like we have seen the face of God and our lives are wrapped with eternity. And she says, all now is changed, yet all is still the same. See, when people speak about the mother's withdrawal, it's not withdrawal. It's a transformed being. But nothing of her human approach changes. That's how she revealed herself to Nalnida in 74 or 76. It's a vision where the mother appears in a new and transformed body and she says, I'm here. Just as before, as accessible as before. You can approach me just the same way as a human mother. And countless people, I'm sure, in this very room and world over will testify to the fact. And if you tell them that the mother is no more, they'll say there could be nothing more untrue than this. So, all now has changed, yet all is still the same. Heaven's touch fulfills but cancels not our earth. But she is asked, you have done all this? Seems like the seer and sages are not satisfied. Satyavan says simply, lay all on her. She is the cause of all. This is my yoga. Don't ask me how to meditate, which mantra to do japa with, what to do, what kind of breathing techniques, what asanas I should do. I know only one thing. Lay all on her. She is the cause of all. So they wonder, looking at her, they see that her face is aglow with the glow of the suns. So they ask, what is your secret? Something you are hiding inside. What is the secret that you have come to give to earth? And mother's message in these 4 lines, the message of Savitri, awakened to the meaning of my heart that to feel love and oneness is to live. I have not seen, there are few lines more powerful than that. If we don't feel love in our heart, we are as good as dead. And she speaks of that. There are many men who are living but dead. And there are many dead who are more alive. Awaken to the meaning of my heart that to feel love and oneness is to live. And this, the magic of her golden change, is all the truth I know or seek, O sage. And then beautiful lines these, wondering at her and her 2 luminous words. Truth can be so simple and so profound. Nalnida, once he was asked to, before a play, he was asked to speak a few words, we program in the ashram, and he went to the stage, stood silent for a while, and then he said, love the mother, and came back, came down. Yoga and life could be so simple and easy, but perhaps love is the most difficult thing for human nature because it always wants. It doesn't know how to love even a human being. Forget about the divine. So it wants, it is jealous, it is full of competition. Oh, mother loves this person more. He is closer. That person is more, she loves talented people. She loves those who go around and give lectures. She loves the wealthy person. She loves everyone because she is a wonderful mother of unnumbered souls. With that, we will end with this passage. Page 557. This is when Savitri recovers the fullness of her being. She undertakes the yoga for earth and man. She does the yoga for earth and man. She completely identifies with earth and all of us. And she does the yoga. And at the end of her yoga, there is something just as Ashupati at the end of his yoga, he is face to face with the Divine Mother. And the mother at the end of her yoga, what does she discover? One line on page 556 and then we'll go to the next page. Her spirit saw the world as living God. It saw the one and knew that all was He. Never a greater truth was ever uttered. He in the being, He in the becoming, He in the past, and He moving towards Himself in the future. When mother used to do the japa of Om Namo Bhagavate, people thought, oh, she is doing something very traditional, very good. She said, no, when I do the mantra Om Namo Bhagavate, I am invoking the divine of the future. It's not just about the mechanical repetition, but it's about what is put in the japa. So on page 557, with which we will end, she was the single self of all these selves. She was in them and they were all in her. This is our permanent dwelling place. All other places, the world, Auroville, ashram, Andromeda galaxy, Mars, they're all temporary places. But what is a permanent places? In her. This first was an immense identity in which her own identity was lost. She loses herself in creation and is there in each atom of existence. What seemed herself was an image of the whole. She was a subconscious life of tree and flower, the outbreak of the honeyed buds of spring. That's why they give us joy. Everywhere we can in a way glimpse something of her magic and mystery. She burned in the passion and splendor of the rose. See, when we look at a rose and feel joy, it's the Divine Mother who is burning in its splendor, and for a moment our eyes turn and we feel happy looking at it. She was the red heart of the passion flower, the dream white of the lotus in its pool. Out of the subconscious life she climbed to mind. She was thought and the passion of the world's heart. She was the Godhead hid in the heart of man. She was the climbing of his soul to God. It is she, a portion of her, that dwells in us as this divine spark and grows into a psychic being. Psychic being is nothing else but a portion of the Divine Mother. That is the realization one has when one discovers the psychic being, that I am forever, have been forever and will be forever a part and parcel and a portion of the Divine Mother. The cosmos flowered in her. She was its bed. She was time and the dreams of God in time. She was space and the wideness of His days. From this she rose where time and space were not. The superconscious was her native air. Infinity was her movement's natural space. Eternity looked out from her on time. Sorry, we have just flowed with it, but there was no other choice. Thank you, Shraddhavan, for giving this opportunity to speak on the Divine Mother in Savitri. I must tell you, it's been so beautiful for me personally.